morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. This is Grace Manzi. I want to say thank you to all who subscribe to my channel. Thank you who have been looking at my videos. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. A big thank you to my husband who is working tirelessly behind the scenes. All the technical bits that you see, he's been doing it. I want to say thank you to my children for taking over almost every space in the house for my videos. Thank you so much. Right, in this video today, I'm going to be showing you how I made a 720 degrees peplum dress. Right, so this is the dress I'm wearing. I'm going to take you step by step from how you make the basic bodice pattern to cutting out of the fabric, and step by step how you sew the dress. So let's get sewing. You will need your tape measure, your calculator, a marker, a pen, a pair of scissors, a ruler to draw the straight lines, a French curve, and your measurements, which are vertical measurements, shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, and shoulder to hip. Your horizontal measurements, which are shoulder, bust, waist, and hip measurements. I've got my pattern paper here, which is folded in half, and I've put pins to hold them in place so that they don't move when I put the pattern markings. Now these two lines here that you can see, this line is the shoulder line, and this is going to be the center, back and front of my bodice pattern. The first thing I'm going to do is to do the vertical measurements. So shoulder to bust is 12 inches. So I'm going to use my pen and mark at the 12 inches. Shoulder to waist is 18 inches. So I come down and measure and mark there at the 18 inches. Shoulder to hip, 27 inches. So I go there and I put a mark at the 27 inch. Right? After doing that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the horizontal lines. For the horizontal lines, I go onto the bust line mark, which I've already put here, and measure and divide my bust by 4, right? After dividing my bust by 4, I'm going to get 10.75. So I mark 10.75 from the line, from the mark there I've already put, and mark 10.75 inches. On the waistline, what I need to do is divide the waistline by 4. I get 9.75. Okay? Right, because I'm going to put a dot on the bodice pattern, I'm going to add 1 inch. Okay, so it's going to be 10.75, which is over here, and then I'm going to put a mark over there. Okay, there you go. And for the hip line, I'm going to divide the hip measurement by 4, and I'm going to get 12.5, which is there. So I'm going to mark here. Okay, so I go on and draw the lines using the marker. So I start with the bust line. Okay, that's my bust line. Okay, the waistline, and the hip line. Okay. To avoid confusion, I'm going to label these lines. So this is the bust line, this is the waist line, and this is going to be my hip line. Okay. Cut. The next thing I'm going to do is connect the lines. I'm going to use my French curve to curve it here. The next thing I'm going to do is to do the shoulder slope and the front neckline. To do the front neckline, I'm going to measure 3 inches from the center front and put a mark there. And then I'm going to measure 3 inches going down. Okay, and then I'm going to mark there, and then I use my French curve to join the two markings, therefore making a front neckline. So that's going to be my front neckline. To do the shoulder slope, I divide my shoulder measurement by 2, and I'm going to get 8.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 8.5 inches here, and then I'm going to put a mark over there, right? I'm going to go down 1 inch, okay, to make the shoulder slope, okay, like that. And then after that, I'm just going to join it to my neckline. So that is going to be my shoulder slope. So the next thing I'm going to do after this is to do the upper chest line. Okay, you can do it by either just dividing your armhole measurement by 2, or get your bust measurement, divide by 6 plus 1.5. So what I'm going to do is use my phone to calculate. My bust measurement is 43 inches. Divide by 6 plus 1.5. I'm going to get 8.5 inches. So from my shoulder line here, I'm going to measure 8.5 inches. Okay. I'm going to measure 8.5 and put a mark on there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line going down from my shoulder line. Okay. When I've done that, I'm going to go ahead as well and draw the upper chest line. That's going to be my upper chest line, and I can continue join it all the way to the bust line. Right. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the front armhole measurement. And before I do that, for the ease of the arm, I'm going to measure 1 inch. I'm going to measure 1 inch here from the end of the bust line. Okay, I'm going to mark 1 inch there, and then I go up, right, to the upper chest line, like so, and put a mark there, right. After doing that, I'm going to put a line over here. Okay. Okay. So I can go ahead and label the upper chest line. Okay, this is the upper chest line. As you can see, our body's pattern is It's taking shape. The upper chest line, bust line, waistline, hip line, okay? And to get this line here, I moved 1 inch out, okay? And then joined it with the upper chest line. And then that's how I got this line here. It's for ease of the arm, okay? Right. The next thing I'm going to do now is to do the front and back armholes. To do the front armhole, what I need to do is find the middle of this line here, okay? Now to get it easily, all I do is fold my tape measure to this line, okay? Like that, okay? And then mark here. That's going to be the middle of my line. After marking there, the next thing I'm going to do is to come in 1.5 centimeters. So that is 1.5 centimeters right there, okay? And then I mark here, right? So to do the front armhole, all I need to do is join that point to this point and curve to the upper chest line. I'm going to be using my pattern master to do that line. So that's how I'm going to do it, like that, like so, okay? See that? Then I draw the line. Okay, so that is the front armhole. For the back armhole, all I simply do is draw a curve from this point here to the upper chest line, okay, like so. Right, so I've got my front armhole, and that's going to be my back armhole. Now for the neckline here, the back neckline, all I do is go down 1 inch from the sleeve, from the shoulder line. Go down 1 inch, mark 1 inch there, okay? And then I get my French curve and draw the back neckline. Okay, so we've got the back neckline and the front neckline done. The next thing I'm going to do now is to do the darts. So for the darts, I need the bust span measurement or the nipple to nipple line measurement. Mine is 8 inches, so I divide 8 inches by 2. I get 4. I got my bust line here. I measure 4 inches, okay? Right? 4 inches again on the waistline. And then 4 inches on the hip line. Right, once I've put the markings, I get my straight ruler and draw a straight line. Okay, my dart is going to be 1 inch down from the bust line, okay? So it's going to start from here and it's going to end 2 inches before the hip line. So it's going to end here, all right? And it's going to be 1 inch wide. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on either side of the line, okay? So for the dart, I'm simply going to join those 4 dots. using my straight ruler. Okay, so that's my front bodice pattern done. I can label it front, okay? That's my front bodice done. So for the back bodice, all I'm going to do is to cut along the back bodice dimensions before I can separate the two front and back pieces. So I'm going to cut along the back neckline all the way around the back armhole line and cut it all the way around. Now, before I separate the two pieces, I'm going to transfer the horizontal lines onto my back bodice. As you can see, my paper is very transparent, so I can easily transfer those lines. So that's going to be my upper chest line for the back pattern, right? My bust line for the back pattern, and my waistline for the back pattern. Okay, we'll open the pattern and cut it out from the forward line here. Okay, now I can go ahead and cut out the back dimensions from the front bodice pattern. So I can cut out now the back armhole, because I don't need it anymore, so I'm going to cut it off. Right, I'm also going to cut out along the neckline and leave the front neckline. Right, this is going to be the forward line of my front pattern, so I'm going to cut along this line here. Okay, now I'm going to mark here fold, my forward line there, and that's the front bodice done. For the back bodice now, all I need to do now is to do the darts. I'm going to do the darts by measuring 4 inches in, that is half of my nipple to nipple measurement, from the upper chest line. Okay, four inches there. I'm also going to measure 4 inches on the bust line. Okay, and then 4 inches on the waistline from the center back here, right? I'm also going to measure 4 inches again on the hip line, right? And put a mark there. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line. Okay, now the difference from this dart with the front dart is that this is going to start from the upper chest line and it's 1 inch down from the upper chest line. So I'm going to mark here 1 inch, okay, and then same as the front dart is going to be 2 inches from the hip line, okay, and it's going to be 1 inch wide, so it's half an inch from the bust pan line or the nipple to nipple line, so it's half an inch on either side. So I'm just going to go ahead and join those 4 points to make the back dart. Like so. Okay. All right. Sorry, it's supposed to be 2 inches up here, so I'm going to draw it again from there, right, 2 inches, and there it's supposed to be here. Okay, right, so that's our back dart done. Now the last thing I'm going to do on the back pattern is to do the back curve, because our backs are not a straight line. To do the curve, I have to come in on the waistline by 1 inch and put a mark on there, right? After putting that mark, I'm going to join it to the center back like this. You can make this line the length that you want depending on how curvy you are. I'm a very curvy person, so I'm going to put 1 inch as I've done there. Okay, and then I'm going to also come 1 inch from this fold line. I'm going to also come in by 1 inch. Okay, so I measure 1 inch and come back in here. Okay, you just follow what I'm doing here. So I'm going to draw a line like that. Okay, and another line going down this way. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that bit now because I don't need it anymore, so I cut it out. Okay, so that is my front and back bodice pattern block. I'm going to add a seam allowance when I cut the fabric, as I'm going to be showing you. So I've used my pattern pieces to cut out my fabric, as you can see, and I've added the seam allowance around the shoulder, the armhole, and both side seams, except the back. As you can see, I've not added any seam allowance on the back, and yeah, that's about it. And the length, I've put the length how I want my dress to be, because this is the pattern that you are going to be using to make so many designs, from dresses, tops, shirts, you name it. So I want my dress to be this long. That's why you can see I've added that bit over there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to transfer the darts onto my fabric, and then I'll start sewing. Okay, so to transfer the darts onto my fabric, I put the pins there, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, after putting the pins on there, I flip onto the wrong side of my fabric, okay, and then I mark where the pin is like that, okay, on both sides of the fabric. I lift that one, I go to the 2 pins in the middle, I mark both wrong sides of my fabric. As you can see, the marks are already being transferred, and then finally I do the last one, okay. So that's transferred onto the fabric. So when I sew, I'm just going to be joining those 2 points on fold like that, okay. The next thing I did was to cut out the facings that I'm going to use to finish off my armhole and my neckline. So to cut out the back facing, all you need to do is put your fabric under your armhole, back armhole pattern, and trace, okay. So you trace there, right, and also come down, determine how wide you want your facing to be. In my case, I wanted my facing to be 3 inches, okay, as you can see there. So you go around your armhole that has been traced, you go around it 3 inches, you see, up to the shoulder, and trace there as well. So you're going to come out with something like that. So you do the same for the front armhole facing, and for the neck, go to cut it on fold like that, okay, as you can see. And I've also cut out the interfacing as well, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join my back pieces together, right. My zip is going to end there where I've put the pin. So I'm going to do a back stitch from there. When I get here, I'm going to do what is called basting, or just like a running stitch all the way up there, because I'm going to take it off before I put my zip on, okay. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, I've my sewing machine set on the normal back stitch at the moment when I start sewing, okay. So when I get to the pin, I change the settings to a long stitch, okay. So I'll start sewing. So I have joined the 2 back pieces, as you can see, and I've taken off the running stitch from where my zip ends here all the way to the top, okay, like so. Before I put the zip on, I'm going to overlock both edges, okay. So that's what I'm going to do now. The zip is on, the back sides are joined now. So what I'm going to do next, go ahead and join the front to the back. So I'm going to go ahead, do the shoulder seams, the side seams, and overlock them before I do the neck and armhole facings. Right, now I've joined the back and front facing and overlocked the edge, as you can see, and open the seams there, okay. So make sure you label them. They are very similar. You might get confused which one is front and back, and they will fit perfectly well on your armhole, as you can see there, right. So I've done the same with the neckline facing. So I'm going to go ahead, pin them round, and then sew them together, okay. Now both the armholes and the neckline facings are in place, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do is, right, the seam allowance here is 1.5 centimeters. So I'm going to trim, okay, I'm going to trim here and leave 1 centimeter like that, okay, all the way around. Right. So after trimming off 1 centimeter, I'm going to be snipping along the neckline seam roughly 1.5 to 2 centimeters apart. So I'm going to do exactly the same on the armhole. The next thing I'm going to do now is to edge stitch the seam along the facing. So with your seam against the facing like that, you take it to the sewing machine, okay? And I'm going to sew right at the edge, very close to the seam, okay? Like so. Okay, so once this is done, as you can see, the facing will just automatically fold back. Okay, so that's the edge stitching I was talking about. That one over there, it will be inside. And that's your finished neckline, nice and smooth. So I'm going to do the same for the armholes. To finish off the center back of your neck, you've got 1/2 inch to 1 inch left here at the edge of your facing. So what you simply do is fold it back, okay? Fold it back there, right? And then bring it down along the zip like that, okay? Once you've brought it down like that, take it and you pin it in place, right? After pinning it in place, what I normally do is I'm going to hand sew it so that it stays on there using a stay stitch, right? So you basically open here and do a stay stitch so that it stays in place. Do the same for the other side. Do the same for the other side, and when it's done, you've got a nice finished back neckline, okay? It's gonna be looking like that, nice and smooth. Okay, so that's my dress done with the armholes complete as well as the neckline. Now the last thing I'm going to do now is the frill. So to do the frill, I'm going to take the hem measurement, okay? So it's right, the measurement here is 25.5, okay? 25.5 times 2 is going to give me 51. So 51 inches. I note it down because I'm going to use it when I cut the frill. Now to cut the frill, I'm going to cut out 2 circles, okay? So I divide the hemline, which is 51 by 2. I get 25.5 inches, which is going to act as circumference, okay? So to get the radius, I've got to divide the circumference by 2 pi. My circumference is 25.5 and 2 pi is 6.28. So the radius is going to be 4.06. So I've folded my fabric here into 4 layers, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Right, I'm going to measure 4 inches from this corner going there all the way around, okay? So let's do that together. Okay, 4.06, well, 4 here, okay, 4 inches, 4 inches all the way around. So I join those dots together. Right. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to do the width of the frill. My frill is going to be 10 inches. So I'm going to measure 10 inches from that line, okay? 10 inches from the radius line. Mark. Okay, now I'm going to join the dots. Okay, I've got my 2 lines here, okay? So I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so this is what I have when I've cut it out. I've got a circle. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is cut it over here, all right? So this is going to be the frill for the front. Okay, it's going to be looking like that. So I'm going to cut one more for the back, join them on the sides, and then that's my frill. Okay. Cut here. So there is my frill. Okay, now I'm going to join it to the dress, and then I'm just going to put a 1/4 of an inch hem here, and that's the end of my dress. Okay, I'm going to show you my dress when it's done. So that is my finished dress, and I'm going to try it out.